Srimad Bhagvatam, Maharaj ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate
Janmadasya yata nivayad itaratas chartesu avigyaswarat. Tene Brahma Hidaya Adhikavaye Muyanti Yat Surayaha. Tejo Varimidam Yata Vinimayo Yatra Trisargo Misha. Damna Svena Sada Nirasta Kuhakam Satyam Param Dimahi. O my Lord, Shri Krishna, Son of Vasudeva, O all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. I meditate upon Lord Shri Krishna because he is the absolute truth and the primeval cause of all causes, of the creation, sustenance, and destruction of the manifested universes. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations. And he is independent because there is no other cause beyond him. It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being. By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion, as one is bewildered by the illusory representations of water seen on fire or land seen on water. Only because of him do the material universes, temporarily manifested by the reaction of the three modes of nature, appear factual, although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Sri Krishna, who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode, which is forever free from the illusory representations of the material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth. Dharma Projita Kaitravatra Paramo Nirmatsaranam Satam Vedyam Vastavam Atravastu Shivadam Tapa Trayon Mulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kimva Purir Ishwaraha Sadyo Hridi Avarudyate Tra Kriti Bihi Sususubhistakshanat. Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated. This Bhagavata Purana propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in his maturity, is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need of any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart. And Nigama Kalpataro Galitam Phalam Sukhamakad Amrita Dravya Samyutam Pibata Bhagavatam Rasam Alayam Muhur Ahoraska Bhuvibhavakaha. O expert and thoughtful men, relish Srimad Bhagavatam. the mature fruit of the desired tree of Vedic
The
literatures,
mature fruit is a tree of the Vedic
it
law.
emanated from the lips of Sri Sukadeva Goswami.
This emanated from the list of Sri Shukadeva
Therefore,
Goswami.
this fruit has become even more tasteful.
Therefore, this fruit has become more tasteful.
Although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all,
Although its nectarine juice was already relishable for all,
including liberated souls.
including liberated souls.
Shinvatam Swakata Krishna
Shambhatam Swakata Krishna.
Punya Shravana Kirtana
Punya Shravana Kirtanam.
Hridyantaksto Bhadrani
Vidyanta Stoya Bhadrani.
Vidu Noti Srihit Satam.
Vidhunati Suritsatam.
To hear about Krishna from Vedic
To
literatures,
hear about Krishna from Vedic literature,
or to hear about him, or to hear from him directly from the Bhagavad Gita.
or to hear from him directly from
I'm sorry, or to hear from him directly through the Bhagavad Gita,
or to hear from him directly through Srimad Bhagavad Gita,
is itself righteous activity.
is itself righteous activity.
And for one who hears about Krishna,
And for one who hears about Krishna,
Lord Krishna, who is dwelling in everyone's heart,
Lord Krishna who is dwelling within everyone's heart,
acts as a best wishing friend,
acts as his best wishing friend,
and purifies the devotee who constantly engages in hearing of him.
and purifies the body who is constantly engaged with hearing of him.
Nastapresu bhadresu
Nasta prayeshu abhadreshu
nityam bhagavata sevaya
nityam bhagavata sevaya
bhagavati utama sloke
bhagavati uttama sloke
bhaktir bhaviti naistaki.
bhakti bhavati nastiti.
In this way,
In this way,
a devotee naturally develops his dormant transcendental knowledge.
therefore it's naturally develops dormant transcendental love.
As he hears more about Krishna
As he hears more about Krishna,
from the Bhagavatam
Bhagavatam,
and from the
and
devotees,
for devotees,
he becomes fixed in the devotional service of the Lord.
he becomes fixed in his devotional service to the Lord.
Tadarajas tamo bhavu
Tadara justamo bhavu
kama loba dayaschaye
kamalobhadayaschaye
chetirtara anavidnam
cheta ete anavidam
stitvam sattve prasidati.
stitam sattve prasidati.
By development of devotional service,
By development of devotional service,
one becomes freed from the modes of passion and ignorance,
one becomes free from the mode of passion and ignorance,
and thus material lust and avarice are diminished.
and thus material lust and avarice are diminished.
Evam prasana manaso
Evam prasana manasu
bhagavat bhakti yogataha
bhagavat bhakti yogata
bhagavat tattva vijnanam
bhagavat tattva vijnanam
mukta sangasya jayate.
sangasajayate.
When these impurities are wiped away,
When these impurities are wiped away,
the candidate remains steady
the candidate remains steady
in his position of pure goodness,
in his position of pure goodness,
becomes enlivened by devotional service,
becomes enlivened by devotional service,
and understands the science of God.
and he understands the science of God.
Vidyate hridaya grantis
Vidyate hridaya granti,
chidyante sarvasamsayaha
vidyante sarva samshaya,
shiyante chasya karmani
vidyante satya karmani,
justa evatmanisware.
vista idmanis,
Thus, thus, bhakti yoga severs the hard knot of material affection
thus bhakti yoga severs the hard knot of material affection,
and enables one to come to the stage of a samsayam samagram,
and enables us to come from the stage of samshaya samadhi,
understanding of the supreme absolute truth personality of Godhead,
understanding of the absolute truth, the supreme personality of God,
understanding of the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead.
understanding the absolute truth, personality of God.
Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 13, Text 58. Dayamane Gnikbirdehe Patyu Patni Sahotaje
Patyu patni sahotaje,
Bahirstita Patim Sadvi
bahistita patim sattvi,
Tamagnim Anuviksyati.
tamagnim anuvikshati.
While outside observing her husband, who will burn in the fire of mystic power, along with his thatched cottage, his chaste wife will enter the fire with rapt attention. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Gandhari was an ideal chaste lady, a life companion of her husband, and therefore, when she saw her husband burning in the fire of mystic yoga along with his cottage of leaves, she despaired. She left home after losing her 100 sons, and in the forest she saw that her most beloved husband was also burning. Now she actually felt alone, and therefore she entered the fire of her husband and followed her husband to death. This entering of a chaste lady into the fire of her dead husband is called sati rite, and the action is considered to be most perfect for a woman. In a later age, this sati rite became an obnoxious criminal affair because the ceremony was forced upon even an unwilling woman. In this fallen age, it is not possible for any lady to follow the sati rite as chastely as it was done by Gandhari and others in past ages. A chaste wife like Gandhari would feel the separation of her husband to be more burning than actual fire. Such a lady can observe the sati rite voluntarily, and there is no criminal force by anyone. When the rite became a formality only, and force was applied upon a lady to follow the principle, actually it became criminal. And therefore the ceremony was to be stopped by state law. This prophecy of Narada Muni to Maharaj Yudhisthira forbade him to go to his widowed aunt. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Well, this is very, very interesting because in a sense it's implying that there are, well, let's say, almost no chaste women in Kali Yuga. Because very few women would voluntarily do this in Kali Yuga. In fact, it could be almost zero. However, what did happen in Kali Yuga was members of the family who were greedy for property and money would force their mom to go into the fire at the time of cremation of Pitaji. So this became a formality, a forced formality on unwilling women. Already it's Kali Yuga, and very few women are voluntarily going to want to do such a thing. And why is that? Because most probably there's no real love for the husband, and maybe the husband doesn't deserve it because he's not really a genuine devotee. So you see, everything gets degraded and contaminated in Kali Yuga. So therefore the British stopped the sati rite or ceremony because it was being misused too much by greedy relatives. However, in the 5,000 years ago, a chaste wife like Gandhari would feel, Prabhupada says, the separation of her husband to be more burning than actual fire. Such a lady can observe the sati rite voluntarily. So we see when Pandu died, he had two wives, Kunti and Madri. And Madri was heartbroken because she felt that she was the cause of Pandu's death, because he became attracted to her for a physical relationship, and therefore she told Kunti, "I'll commit sati, you stay with the kids and raise them." And Kunti agreed. So when Pandu died, Sati entered the fire with her husband. So, big why, a chaste wife like Gandhari would feel the separation of her husband to be more burning than actual fire. Such a lady can observe the sati rite voluntarily, and there's no criminal force by anyone. Yeah, if somebody wants to jump into the fire, I don't see anybody jumping into fires nowadays. Right? I've seen a lot of people die. I didn't see anyone do that. As someone voluntarily does that, it's not a crime. Right? When the rite became a formality only and force was applied upon a lady to follow the principle, actually it became criminal, and therefore the ceremony was to be stopped by state law. So, Narada Muni is explaining what's going to happen, or what is sure to happen to Maharaj Yudhisthira, so that he will not go and try and save Dhritarashtra or his aunt Gandhari. Why? Because when someone is determined to die, you can't really stop them. It wouldn't be right. I saw that with my own mother. At one point, she became determined to die. And whatever I tried to do, she basically begged me, please don't do this. Let me die. And she did, holding her beads. She had chanting beads. And I was going to take her to the hospital, but it was very late at night, so I said, I'll do it early in the morning. When I woke up, she had already left, but she left with the beads in her hand. So you can't really stop a person who's determined that, they've had enough of this material life, they're going to die. And however, if a person says, no, I don't want to die, then there's a possibility that they can prolong their life, in a sense. But when they're determined, now, in the case of Dhritarashtra, he was determined because he became very sober. And he realized that, yeah, he could maybe live longer, but it would be in shame, and it would be actually very inappropriate at his age. So he lost attraction to continued sense gratification. He became very sober by the mercy of Vidura, and he left. And Gandhari, as a chaste wife, she followed him. He didn't ask her to come. And she followed him without him doing anything to help her. Right? He didn't make any arrangements for her at all. He basically ignored her. But she followed as a chaste wife. See, now all these things are exceptional. You would not find anyone that would be willing to do such a thing today. Because there's no real love in Kali Yuga. It's all lust, unfortunately. There may be some few very, very exceptional cases, but where is there a husband who's fully disgusted with sense gratification and is determined to stop all unnecessary things and just focus on the Lord? There are very few people like that. Unless they're forced by sickness. But if they're not sick, they're in good health still, but they've decided, that's it, I'm finished with material life. I'm just going to fix my mind on Krishna, and I'm not going to let anything else disturb me, whether it's my wife or my children or my business or anything like that. I'm finished. And they leave. And they just meditate on Krishna. And they don't even eat. When a person's determined to die, they stop eating. Just like in the case of Prabhupada, he virtually stopped eating for like 6 months. And that is a symptom of a very great devotee. Just like Bismadev, he stopped eating and drinking, right? And he stayed in that state for at least a month or more. In the case of Prabhupada, it was like 6 months. He was drinking very little bit, eating hardly anything or nothing, because he fixed his mind on, he was ready to leave his body, but it took a long time, and he was patiently waiting and instructing his devotees to make sure that this movement would continue without his physical presence. Okay, so this is a very interesting and very profound purport by Prabhupada about an ideal chaste lady named Gandhari. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Are there any questions?
So just ladies, they used to be what is used to be really actual better half of the husband.
Yeah, and the husband was the other better half. He has to be the other better half. Otherwise, how can the wife respect the husband so much? Although Dhritarashtra, is questionable, right? Because he's trying to kill the Pandavas, deny them their rightful heritage, although he was supposed to be their guardian. So it's pretty heavy duty.
So Vidura did this amazing job because after all the offenses that Dhritarashtra committed,
Yes.
and then to the last stage of his life being achieving liberation, that is really, it's not easy.
He didn't have to do that. He did it as a duty. As a duty, out of respect for his elder brother.
But I think, like you said yesterday, is the power of association. Can change. The thing can change.
It's the only thing. It's the only thing that can change a person from being a Vishayi to becoming a devotee.
Degradation.
Yeah. That's the main thing in life. Because most people, either they're interested in bhukti, mukti, or siddhi, kami. Sakaliya santa, and they're never peaceful because they want something material. Krishna bhakti niskama ateva prashanta. But one who's a devotee, Krishna bhakti, bhakta, naiskama, and no longer has any desire for sense gratification. This word karmya is a very important word. It means it lost all attraction to sense gratification. That, of course, is extremely rare, but it's a fact. And when they attain that mentality, then they're peaceful, prashanta, and then they are not disturbed by anything, they don't get upset by anything, they see everyone equally as the servant of Krishna, they don't see bodily differences, they don't see ethnicity or nationality or any of that stuff. They see the soul's eternal relationship with Krishna. And therefore, whether they are treated nicely or treated badly, they don't get disturbed. They just continue their chanting and meditating on Krishna and serving the Lord practically through practical devotional service. So such people are very rare. But if you can find a person like that, it's like when I was first coming to Krishna consciousness, very quickly, because of the other devotees that were preaching to me, I realized Prabhupada is a very extremely exceptional person. I'm not going to find anybody like that in this world. And therefore, I put a stop to everything else I was doing, although I had scholarship to go to Russia for 4 years advanced degrees, right? It was all paid for. So I just stopped it and joined the movement. Because I realized this is a one-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I'm not gonna meet anyone else like that, in my lifetime. And it was only by luck, because of the devotees that were preaching, that I came in contact with Prabhupada, and he was giving everything I was looking for in the Bhagavad Gita. Although I didn't understand much of it in the beginning, but I could see that everything I was looking for was there. I didn't have to go anywhere else anymore. So that's the mercy of devotees.
Yeah, because Dhritarashtra, I mean, he was the root cause of the whole thing. It's because of Dhritarashtra.
Yeah, his lack of spiritual vision. Yeah. He could have stopped it. He could have gotten rid of his son Dhritarashtra at birth, as he was advised to do, but he didn't. And because of that, his son became the cause, although it was predicted he'd be the cause of the destruction of the whole dynasty, the Kuru dynasty. Or at least his part of the Kuru dynasty. Yeah, these are hard decisions to make. But the hardest decision to make is to give up everything and surrender to Krishna. It's even hard. I mean, we do that to become a devotee. That's for sure. But then, as a devotee, we rebuild all our attachments through marriage and all these things, and get attached again. And then to break it a second time is much harder. So, because we went down a slippery slope of getting attached again.
Yeah, like Madhurya Kadambini said also, sometimes we develop, it's called Bhakti Anarthas. Madhurya Kadambini.
Well, anartha means unwanted things.
Yeah, sometimes on the platform of devotional service,
yes,
the devotees also
develop those unwanted things. Yes.
They're watering the seedling and the weeds together.
Well, they grow together.
Yeah.
You have to weed like I do every day in my garden, and we have to do it in our mind also. Yeah. It's harder to break away after we've redeveloped those same type of attachments. It's harder. But if we listen every day and discuss Srimad Bhagvatam, Bhagavad Gita, then it becomes possible. Yeah, every day we're being reminded. Haribol. Yeah. Well, it depends what your position is. If your position is one of a leader, then with kind words, kind behavior.
Can you summarize his question?
His question is, let's say you're a devotee, right? Okay. And you're associating with different people, but you see someone is very abusive. What's your duty? I mean, should you try and correct the person? I mean, you're saying that, someone who's Krishna conscious, they don't get angry. But what if they're in the company of someone who could be devotees also that are very abusive? Is that right? What do? Well, they're getting away with it. Let's put it like that. They're getting away with it. Okay, see, therefore, you have to choose who you associate with. When you see that there's what we would call a low-class kanista adhikari, a kanista. Not all kanistas are low class, but let's say there's really a low class one, right? So what do? You avoid their association. Even though you might be living in the same temple with them, but you avoid their association. In the sense that, you can't avoid it because you're living in the same building, but you avoid any, let's say, interactions. What's an interaction? They insult you, you interact. But if you don't interact, even though you've been insulted, not assaulted. Assaulted is different, right? But insulted, then you're not interacting. See, the worst thing for a person who's an abuser is seeing someone that's not affected by it and not going away. That's the worst thing for them, because that means they can't control that person. They can control people by getting them upset or scared. But they can't control someone that doesn't get upset and is not scared, but continues devotional service without interruption. Okay, so then it depends on what your position is. If your position is one of a leader and you do nothing, you're a nonsense, and you're going to get thrown out from that responsibility. The leader has to be able to correct people. That's the position of the leader. Is it your position? Well, your position is to cooperate. Now, let's say the abusive person is the leader. That gets it more complicated. Then you have to have faith in Krishna, that for no reason are you going to leave your service, even if there's a bad leader. Unless he, tells you to kill somebody, or tells you to jump off a bridge or something like that, right? Or is always very insulting openly. Just like when Vidura was insulted by Duryodhana, and his brother didn't do anything, so he walked away. But he came back later, when Duryodhana was dead. So these are all difficult questions, see. But if you interact, then you get affected. Then you're under the control of that person who's abusive because of your interaction. They aroused in you a reaction, right? You get angry, or you want to hit them or something like that. So then they win, because they brought you down to their level.
That's what they want.
That's what they want. Yeah, they want chaos. See, that means when there's chaos, that means they win. So the example would be Ambarish Maharaj. One example. Another example would be. Maharaj Bharata takes birth as a deer, and in his next birth he takes birth as a son of a brahmana but he refuses to learn how to read and write or anything like that, right? And then he's treated as if he's dumb, stupid son. And then when the father dies, his brothers begin abusing him, deny him his inheritance, treat him like crap. You see? Huh? Jad Bharat, yes. So they're treating him like crap, but he doesn't protest. And eventually, he's on the graveyard schedule, watching the cows at night so the dacoits don't steal them, right? And he gets kidnapped by dacoits who think he's a useless human being. So therefore they grab him, and they take him to the temple of Durga to offer him up as sacrifice. You see. And he doesn't protest. And then when they're ready to cut off his head, they bathe him, they dress him in white, and they prepare him for sacrifice as like a dumb animal. And when they're ready to cut off his head, Durga, the deity made out of stone, walks off the the altar, cuts their heads off, and drinks their blood. Again, he doesn't even bat an eyelash. And when it's all over, without saying a word, he just gets up and walks out and goes back watching the cows. So if you meditate on this, Jad Bharat, you say, and he was in a much worse position than you would ever be in. Or Ambarish Maharaj, much worse position than you would ever be in. But they're not fazed by it, right? And Krishna protects them. So, it depends on how much faith we have in the Lord, right? The devotee the tolerance of a devotee is infinite. Because they have something so good that they're not disturbed by all this nonsense. The nonsense is insignificant for them. Because they have something so good. They're meditating always on Krishna, and learning something new every day, and seeing the hand of Krishna protecting them all the time in life. But, he was a good administrator, yeah. Very, very astute and very psychological. He knew how to gain people's, loyalty, yeah. But because of his enviousness of the Pandavas, all those good qualities were ruined. You see, all ruined, and in the end, he's completely destroyed. Yeah, he would have been worth. I mean, no, they told him, look, you be the ruler. Just give us one village for each one of us, and we'll leave you alone. We won't ask for the kingdom. We'll be satisfied just with one village. He said, I won't even give you enough land to put a pin into. You see how envious he was, because he saw previously when they were given some place to live, and they got Mayadanava to build a palace that was illusory in some way for people that would approach it. And when he came to see them, he came as a friend to see them, right? But because of the illusory nature of the entrance, he fell into the moat. And then Draupadi left, and that was it. And he got so insulted by that. Yeah, I mean that convinced him he's going to kill them, get rid of them somehow or other. Because he gave them something, and they made it wonderful, more wonderful than whatever he had. So he was not into the mood of giving them one village each. Yeah, it's a tough world. If you have envy, everything is destroyed by it. Haribol. Just meditate on Jad Bharat. Yeah. You'll be all right. I was going to read something amazing today, but we didn't have time. I'll do it tomorrow. This is one of the most amazing things I've ever read. And I'll keep it for tomorrow.
How long will it take?
It'll take at least 20 minutes or more.
Yeah. And then we'll start up tomorrow with that.
Yeah.
That's a good thought.
Amazing, just amazing. I'll give you a hint, okay? This man asked a really good question of Prabhupada.